Hello friends and colleagues, I'm Stanislav Chernog, the author and creator of the School of Vector Massage and Somatics, and today we will talk about cellulite again. There are a huge number of folk ways to work with this ailment, and we will try to figure out which of them are justified, moreover, if some work, then how they work. And the first thing I would like to talk about is proper nutrition. The fact is that cellulite in fact is a metabolic disorder in adipose tissue. Adipose tissue collects this fluid not because it is bad, but because adipose tissue is the place where the body dumps toxic substances. The main way of utilization of toxic substances in the lymph is the release of fluid through the mucous membranes of the large intestine, lungs, and then the skin. The main and surest way to cleanse the lymph is to have a healthy large intestine. Every time a person eats not very proper food, this leads to the fact that the intestinal mucosa suffers and cannot normally cleanse the lymph from toxic substances, which in turn leads to the fact that toxic substances have to go somewhere, and the body puts them into the subcutaneous fat tissue. Due to the fact that these substances will move out of the subcutaneous fat into the bloodstream and lymph, the body tries to limit the fat vesicles where the toxic substances have accumulated and surrounds them with a specific membrane, which is cellulite. In fact, there is the first phase of cellulite, which is not a disease, but it is associated with the specific structure of the female subcutaneous fat. It can be observed if we compress the skin, and at a certain angle of incidence of light, we will see that the skin is not uniform. It's not a disease, it's normal, and we don't take it as cellulite. The second phase of cellulite is a situation when fluid accumulates in fat tissue, and we see tubercles and depressions no matter from which side we look at this situation. And finally, the third phase is when we see the unevenness of the skin regardless of whether we compress it or not, what kind of light we have. These irregularities can literally be felt to the touch. This is due to the fact that some areas of adipose tissue have become isolated and calcified. So what is proper nutrition? Let's talk about nutrition using the example of white bread. White bread is high in gluten. Mankind has been breeding wheat for a long time in order to get more fluffy bread, increasing the amount of gluten in wheat flour. Gluten has an unpleasant property, it is a very sticky substance, and every time it enters the colon, especially if the intestines don't work very well and don't break down gluten, when gluten enters the colon, it sticks to the intestinal wall and thus prevents the release and elimination of toxic substances through the intestinal wall. As a result, toxic substances are not excreted, which leads to the fact that the body is forced to dispose of these toxic substances in the subcutaneous fat tissue. The second example of malnutrition is the consumption of sugary carbonated water. It is in this combination. Sweet carbonated water leads to a shift in the acid-base balance towards acidic environment, which in turn leads to metabolic disorders, which in turn leads to an increase in the amount of toxic substances in the blood. The fact is that some substances are well absorbed and utilized in acidic environment. Some substances are well absorbed and utilized in alkaline environment. Normally, our body must migrate, depending on the time of the day, from acidic to alkaline and vice versa. If we have a shift towards acidic environment in our body, then some substances will not be processed and will not be removed. Thus, by reviewing your diet, you can significantly improve the quality of your skin. The next popular, generally recognized anti-cellulite remedy is body wrap. How it works? We apply specific formulations onto the skin. It can be algae, it can be clay, some other substances, extracts from herbs, and we wrap a person in cellophane or put a person in a specific thermal blanket. A person sits for some time, packed in a film, inside which there is a specific therapeutic composition. How it works? The fact is that the skin has the ability to remove toxic substances, and the skin has the ability to consume a certain amount of useful substances through itself. Thus, the compositions are selected so that toxins exit through the skin into the composition of the wrap, and accordingly a certain amount of substances passes into the skin, improving its trophism, improving metabolism, and helping to remove toxic substances from adipose tissue. Thus, cellulite is reduced, swelling goes away. The problem with this method is that it works well, but for a short while. If you want to solve the problem of cellulite for a long time, if you want it not to disturb you or your clients for a long time, then of course wrapping is suitable, but only on a limited scale. If you work with wrapping, then you are provided with regular work from clients who will come to you for a quick but not long-term result over and over again. But you must understand that every time you wrap, you are not working on the core of the problem, you are only relieving the patient of the consequences of a true difficulty. The next popular way to fight cellulite is exercise. And alas, this is one of the most ineffective ways to combat cellulite. The fact is that exercise works on the muscular system. Of course, at the moment when the muscles begin to work, in the surrounding tissues, in the skin, the metabolic rate also increases, but very slightly. Adipose tissue has a low number of blood vessels, so no matter what happens under the adipose tissue, the metabolic rate in adipose tissue increases very little. Yes, of course, due to physical activity, we improve the metabolism throughout the body. But if we are talking about solving the problem of cellulite, then physical exercise is not the first, second, or even 10th way to overcome this disease. There is a huge number of exercises on the internet that supposedly help with cellulite. Perhaps I was just unlucky in my 25 years, and I have never met a person who would have exercise on the buttocks or on the thighs somehow helps to reduce cellulite. Yes, physical exercises improve the shape of the muscles, improve the shape of the legs, improve the shape of the abdomen, but they have little or no effect on the subcutaneous fat tissue. Perhaps your experience is fundamentally different from mine. Perhaps you have been exercising and cellulite has passed as if by magic. Be sure to write about it in the comments. Perhaps you will fundamentally change my understanding of cellulite and exercise. The next popular method of dealing with cellulite is the use of massage brushes or scrubs. How it works? The fact is that the intensity of metabolism in the subcutaneous adipose tissue is extremely low. That is exactly why the body dumps toxic substances there, because they do not interfere. The way to overcome the reduced metabolism in the subcutaneous adipose tissue is to push this space. Massage brushes work well for this task. I like the ones I've used, the ones with big but soft bumps. Your task is to maximally intensify the metabolism in the subcutaneous fat tissue. You can do it yourself. What is important for us to know? First, you should not force the work on cellulite. No matter how much you work on the first day, whether you rub off the skin on your legs to the point of bleeding, I have had such patients. Now I'm not kidding. I have seen a serious violation of the skin as a result of the fact that the person was trying to defeat one's cellulite. The body is able to do only a certain amount of work during the day. Do not force this work. No fanaticism. We apply oil. It is good if it is an oil that improves metabolism. It is good if it is an oil that improves skin turgor. We apply oil and with soft circular motions we begin to knead the side surface. I don't press very hard. As you will see in a moment, on the skin there will be places where the skin is evenly reddened, and in some places there will be white dots. These are places where metabolism is disturbed in some local areas. Here, fortunately for our client, she has a small number of such zones, but alas, in most cases, everything is different. The skin will be covered with white spots, all of it will be pinkish, and in some separate places there will be white dots. Unfortunately, the camera won't take it, I think so. But with your eyes directly when you're working with a client or with yourself, it will be very obvious. Places where there will be no distinct redness, these are the places where special attention should be paid. These are the places where cellulite will be the most. Accordingly, places where there is more cellulite require more attention and more effort. Remember that the body is able to accept a certain amount of physical activity. How does this method work? First, we increase blood flow through the adipose tissue. Secondly, we drain the lymph from the adipose tissue, we squeeze out the liquid from the adipose tissue, and fresh, uncontaminated by toxic substances, comes in its place. It is very important that if you're doing this work, you should drink plenty of water so that your kidneys can eliminate toxic substances. A special place is work on the inner surface. Be even more subtle. The inner surface is a place where there are a huge number of lymphatic vessels. You need to understand that in order to work efficiently with the inner surface of the thigh, you first have to work on the lymph nodes in the pelvis and in the intestines. Well, the icing on the cake, completing our list of recognized methods of dealing with cellulite, is anti-cellulite massage. Remember that direct work on cellulite using massage techniques, alas, is not very effective. You need to understand the reasons why fluid stagnates in some places of the body. You need to understand that the lateral surface actually comes from the gluteus maximus and the tensor fasciae lata muscle. It is important for you to understand that lymph stasis comes most of all from the pelvis and from the intestines. And yet, if you understand the basic principles of where, how, and how much to work, then your work to rid your suffering patients of cellulite will be effective and bring you a good income. After some time, I discovered that cellulite is an indicator of the state of the body. Young and healthy women do not have cellulite as a rule. If there is cellulite, then this in itself is not a problem, but it indicates emerging or already started health problems. So cellulite is a symptom. We need to work on the root cause. Massage is a great way to work not only on cellulite, but also on the root cause of this ailment. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if this video was useful and interesting for you. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel of Vector Massage and Somatics, the channel where we teach you how to work with a person's health, appearance, and make money from it. And Stanislav Chernog was with you. See you in the next video. Bye.